Okay, King, look, it was a little while ago, but what do you remember about your 18th birthday?
Oh, man. I had a nice slice of pizza that day. It was a nice day that I'll never forget.
Somehow, I think that might be the same for one Kimi Antonelli. And that barely scratches the surface of the Italian Grand Prix. Welcome back to Motorsport 101. Welcome to episode 540 of Motorsport 101, the 1.5 rotation, which is kind of how Kimi Antonelli's Friday went down. We'll talk about a little bit of that later on in the show, but this is going to be our Formula 1 episode on the 2024 Italian Grand Prix. Kind of, sort of. We missed Zandvoort about a week or so ago because, as mentioned before, we had our co-hosts doing some fangs. As we know, King and Cam was out in Milwaukee, and RJ was busy as well. We'll talk about him very, very shortly as well. But this is a little bit of a catch-up on what happened in Zandvoort before we get into the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, a highly emotionally charged weekend. It always is in Italy. The Tifosi there in force, some of the most passionate fans in the world. One of my favourite tracks on the calendar. I love Monza. And this year's race did not disappoint. We had a thriller on that one with a surprising ending that may surprise you. Ferrari out-strategized the field. No, I'm not making this up. This actually happened. They just pulled McLaren's pants down. And Charles Leclerc, who's got his second win of the year. I love that Charles's 2 wins this year have been his home race and his team's home race. Doesn't get much better than that, does it? If you're only going to win 2, make sure it's those 2. Those are pretty cool. Joining me on the show, as ever, is the 4 of us on this occasion. It's just like old times in here. Once again, Cam Buckley, how's it going, buddy?
It certainly is going. Watch this race from the top floor of the Airbnb on my laptop. And, kind of felt like a fever dream watching Ferrari using punishing speed and strategy together for the first time in what feels like years.
It's like 2004 happened all over again. It was beautiful, just like old times when I was a wee boy and I was watching Michael Schumacher just tenderize the field every week.
To leverage the meme format of the month. My front left is dead. My brother in Christ, you put in 6 consecutive fastest laps.
More on the woes of McLaren's strategy later. Also joining me, as you could probably guess from that intro, a man whose 18th birthday was absolutely better than Antonelli's because it involved an authentic New York slice. It's Ryan Eric King. How's it going, buddy?
Oh, man. It can be somewhat difficult to get a New York slice some days, albeit you never really risk the chance of suffering a concussion.
Yeah, like I was going to say, I hope getting a New York slice in your home city wouldn't involve a 42G impact with a wall. Just throwing that out there. If it is, it better be some damn good pizza. That's all I'm saying.
This is one of the added to the list of things that New York City people are convinced only exists in New York, like people paying attention to their surroundings, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches, concussions when ordering a slice of pizza.
Yeah, and that's RJ O'Connell, everybody. I'm glad you could join us as ever on this 4-person show. Now, welcome back to Professor Harrison's class. You may have seen this from the last episode. I apologise to the other students who didn't get to give their summer vacation presentations due to the fire drill yesterday. Whoops. So before we get into today's lectures, let's finish off our presentations. Mr. RJ O'Connell, what did you do over the summer break?
Well, I was at a World Championship race as well. I was not at the Formula 1 Italian Grand Prix. I was at Circuit of the Americas for the World Endurance Championships round that is either called the 6 Hours of Coda or the Lone Star Le Mans, for the purpose of breaking up the format of every race meeting being the blank hours of blank circuit. I'm calling it Lone Star Le Mans. That's the way the event was promoted by Coda. That's what I'm sticking with. But that was where I was at. this weekend, covering that 6th round of the championship for Daily Sports Car. 3/4 of the season already done, which is crazy. And I'll talk a little bit about more, but 6 different overall and premier class winners in the first 6 races of the season. Wow.
Wild.
That's what the hypercar. That's what the hypercar format is there for. And like, in my boss, DSC editor Graham Goodwin, also World Nerds Championship World Feed commentator, shares the same opinion. Like, LMP1 Hybrid was incredible. Do not get me wrong. I love that shit. But this is something else that is very, very brilliant. I don't think we'd get 6 different winners in the first 6 races without the hypercar regulations, without the balance of performance and the equivalence of technology, and the buy-in from multiple manufacturers to make this work.
Mm-hmm. And for the first time ever, shout out to Ferrari for winning 2 FIA World Championship events on the same day. Shout out to my colleague Gary Watkins over at Autosport, who does incredible work.
I saw him there.
Yeah, Gary, he's a lovely man. He really is. We sit down and we collab for every podcast that we do. And I asked him, like, Gary, like, you've got an encyclopedia of sports car knowledge. Like, has this ever happened where Ferrari's doubled up? And he went back to the 60s. He said on the flight back, and he was like, nope, I don't think it's ever happened. Ferrari have said it's never happened before, and he said I'm prepared to take their word for it. For
a fair portion of their time as a factory sports car and F1 entity, either one side was eating and the other one was not.
Indeed, so congratulations to them. And the AF Corsa, the 83, the yellow Ferrari, gets their first win of the year. And
100% pure privateer entry.
Yes.
You know how happy I was for a distant friend of the show, Ash Vandalay, that she got to see her hero, Robert Kubica, win in person. And you know how happy it was that a Robert Kubica fan who was like all in on him during the BMW Saudi years, devastating when he lost 8 years of his prime due to a freak rallying incident, and was just kind of just like beaten down into the disappointment that was the second half of his F1 career. I was very happy to see that. And I guess I'm spoiling a little bit about what the next question is, Professor Harrison, but I thought the race was fun.
Yeah, so, I was watching bits and pieces of it alongside IndyCar, and it looked like it was a very dramatic race. I mean, a late drive-through penalty, because there was the number 7 Toyota crew that were chasing them down at the end of that race. Coach K, of course, in the seat at the end, trying to gun. It was their old man trying to gun down their young man, and trying to bring it home in the end. But a dramatic race. And what did you make of the event in general, then, RJ?
Well, this event, much like IndyCar at Milwaukee, I think this was a big test to see what the appetite was for the World Endurance Championship in the United States of America when the event stands alone. Because until this year, Lex Round was the 1,000 miles of Sebring, an event that was baked into an already established event, the 12 hours of Sebring, the IMSA race. That deal ran out, and we were back to Circuit of the Americas, a circuit that I think when it was announced to be coming on the calendar in June of last year is when they announced that this event would be back. I think people met it with a lot of skepticism because Lone Star Le Mans had a very difficult time drawing people out to the event. The point where we're just thinking like, well, it didn't work before. What do you think is going to make it work this time? Though I did reserve some healthy sense of optimism because we had not seen Lone Star Le Mans at COTA since the DTS boom. And while it is foolish to assume that every event thrown at Circuit of the Americas is going to benefit from a sort of trickle-down effect that post-DTS era United States Grand Prix have been getting, I thought that at least more people would show up, and I thought more people would show up because of the renewed interest in the hypercar class, and the renewed interest in the GT3 class. I thought Ferrari was going to bring attention. I thought Jenson Button was going to bring attention. I certainly thought Valentino Rossi was going to bring attention from people who wouldn't otherwise see it. And I was very impressed. I don't know how legit the figure that was published shortly after the race, the 3-day weekend attendance of 65,000 across 3 days. But considering the expectations when I was in the car, speaking with my boss, again, commentator for the series, was saying, in discussions, like they were expecting the same number of people that we were rightfully dragging Mark Miles over the coals for saying he hopes he got that number at Milwaukee. And I was just thinking, yeah, but 15,000 here at COTA is going to look even worse, right? So thankfully, it was a great turnout. A lot of the main grandstands and places where you could watch series were a lot fuller than I think a lot of people would have expected. The pit walks were packed with people. At least 3 parties had long lines wrapping outside of the hot pits and into like the fast lanes pit itself. Rossi, Button, and the Iron Dames. It's a good crowd of knowledgeable people. Like I actually got to do some cool, like Graham and Martin Haven, his commentator, known for yapping about cake and heroin and all sorts of other things. They actually gave a certain number of fans from the World Endurance Championship Discord a guided tour of a couple of the team's garages, notably United Autosports McLaren's and Hertz Team Jonas Porsches. And I was just thinking, man.
Hertz Team Joda, who had a not so great race with the 12 car. Schrodinger's Porsche.
That thing was just like getting hard reset, and it's like, yeah, it's going again. No, it's stopped again. At least the 38 salvaged some points. I thought it was just cool to see like other people getting like up close access to some really cool cars. Like they were very sensitive about like the kinds of pictures that you could take about the machinery, because like at this level, they're very paranoid that like, hey, any exposed mechanical bits could give away setup and like mechanical component sequence to our rivals that we wouldn't want to get out there. But oh man, it was so tempting just seeing like the engine cover of that V8 on the 963.
Meanwhile, like at Milwaukee, I basically had my head craned over Alex Palous for suspension a couple days ago.
Ooh, dampers.
It's so neat. I don't know. After that race, if you heard our last episode, it didn't go so well for Alex Palou. I'm just looking into his engine cover going, I trusted you.
And to be fair, it wasn't the fault of the 963's engine. It was just a series of nonstop electrical gremlins that wouldn't ever get solved in the 12 car.
No, that car was on the struggle bus pretty much in the first hour, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to be said. There's valid points to be made about the level of access in the World Endurance Championship. How you can't just walk in the garages, get an up close look at the cars. Hell, I couldn't even get a grid walk sticker for this event. And any IMSA round, I could just go out there and do it. I think there is like a debate to be had about the level of access and, the merits or the demerits of in this case. But I do like the fact that outside of that, it feels like there is a real effort from Circuit of the Americas and the World Endurance Championship to make this event work, to capitalize on the upward momentum that's having from, dare I say, a strong contender for Series of the Year when we get down to awards time.
It's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting indeed. And I'll put that down as the important thing you learned. A+. Well done, RJ. Great paper. Great paper. I very much enjoyed that. Now, as I put my professor's hat off for a moment, as mentioned, this is a bit of a catch-up because, as we know, we didn't do a review on Zandvoort for those very reasons. Again, not a huge amount to take away from that besides, oh my God, McLaren beat the field into a bloody pulp.
What's funny is like seeing all the memes of like, Lando blew the start again! And he still won by 23 seconds.
Yeah, drove by Max like he had a blown engine.
Yeah, pretty much. It was It was F1 at Zandvoort. We had over 90,000 in the house on race day. Max Verstappen's backyard, Dutch flags and orange as far as the eye can see, but it was a different shade of orange that would dominate the proceedings. He was mollywopped. Lando Norris crushed the field, winning by 23 seconds, the biggest winning margin seen in F1 since Max's 33-second whopper in Hungary over a year ago. Verstappen could only manage second. There was nothing he could do about it, about his imbalanced car on the day. Charles Leclerc did a noble job holding off Oscar Piastri pretty much for the entire second half of the race to finish in third in the end on that one. And there wasn't really a huge amount to take away from Zandvoort besides that. Just like, oh my God, if there was any doubt about who had the best car in F1 now, well, yeah, Lando is him and McLaren is...
This rocket ship. Nobody's ever built a car this fast. Certainly not in the last 12 months.
Well... would McLaren be able to take that to Monza and continue their electric run of form? We'll find out, because it's time for Italy on the next exciting episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Formula Ball Z. Yes, McLaren may have locked in a 1-2 start, but it was Charles Leclerc for Ferrari who stayed in the fight throughout the whole race. While Piastri and Norris were trading fastest laps back and forth, Leclerc racked up the laps on his hard tire, and despite being undercut on his open stint, he stayed out for the rest of the race and pulled off the one-stopper on a day where 2 was expected to be the strategy for every front runner. It forced Piastri to chase Leclerc down, but he failed as Leclerc took his second win of 2024, his first since Monaco, nothing but bangers in front of the home fans with the red car, with the carbon black suit, with Lando Norris rounding off the podium in third place behind his teammate Oscar Piastri. Lots to talk about here. Can we start with Piastri's first lap, second chicane overtake on Lando Norris?
Oh, that was a look of all.
I don't care where your allegiances lie on this whole thing. That was beautiful, man.
It was beautiful, but it was kind of out of necessity because Lando completely botched the exit of the chicane and then braked somewhere in Zandvoort. Like, if Piastri doesn't go for that move, he's probably under threat from the car behind.
Just wanted to beat the allegations, man.
Lando Norris just cannot beat the lap 1 allegations.
Like, I would sum up like McLaren's day as being the perfect example of the team having 2 loose cannon drivers in a very capable car and them having no idea how to manage them.
It certainly feels that way, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit more in a couple of minutes' time. But yeah, it was a beautiful pass. I mean, of course, Lando did himself no favors there, but to go around the outside of the Roggio chicane and then come back on him, and it was brave, it was bold, it was brilliant. And if there is, do not let the stoic, quiet nature and Instagram selfies fool you. Oscar Piastri has got a killer instinct, and I didn't know he had that dog in him. Yeah, he barked hard, and Lando, he's 0 for 7 now in his career.
What's crazy is that, this team has a driver that is managed by Mark Webber, the guy who we used to make fun of for never meeting an opportunity to fail to convert a start in an F1 race.
Well, that's funny, and I know.
Yeah.
It's funny.
But that driver is not Oscar Piastri on this team. It's Lando Norris.
Yeah.
A guy who, again, I just want to go into another point. It's just like, the whole conversation is about how Lando Norris is failing to meet the moment, failing to maximize, apparently the greatest Formula One car ever built, if you ask some people. This is not the driver that I remember who just a few short years ago was getting the absolute maximum out of cars that were not that good.
Oh yeah. It's a wild one. It's a wild one. Like, so the point I was going to make, like, Lando is 0 for 7 now in races and sprints where he started from pole or started from the number 1 grid slot and has not led the second lap afterwards. 0 for 7.
Ugh.
That is alarming. You know,
I think that's the biggest thing where, like, people are calling on it because, like, the last couple races, McLaren has really clearly had a very, you could say, busted car in race trim. And it's the fact that when we've seen people like Lewis, people like Sebastian, obviously people like Max, have a car this cracked, they just fire off into the distance and are never seen again until it's the end of the race because we don't waste any TV budget on them. And instead, Lando keeps giving himself a lot of work to do on lap 1. And sometimes he's fast enough where he will just mitigate that. There's other times where, in this case, I mean, his opening run was so bad that it kind of let Ferrari get their foot in the door.
And this was despite Charles Leclerc, who was unable to get past Piastri despite having DRS and a clear run for that first stint, and then got undercut by Norris and ended up back out in third. We thought Ferrari's goose was cooked again, and it turns out it was actually brilliant. Leclerc, like, they switched to the one-stopper in between. Leclerc's pace is excellent. He's able to stay in the wheelhouse of Norris and Piastri, who, as we said, when they had their second stints, were turning it into a glorified time trial. It was purple laps after purple laps between the pair of them. And the fated Papaya rules got mentioned over the radio, which might be the single cringiest thing I've ever heard to describe rules of engagement.
Yeah. Though, like, why are you releasing your drivers to race with a Ferrari only about 3 seconds behind you?
Yeah,
you are not.
You are Roger Penske.
Yeah, you are not. You are not clear, especially when, like, Leclerc's pace at that point was fine, and the McLarens could kind of hold him at bay without having to gun it. And instead, they open the taps. Piastri and Lando are only about a tenth, maybe a tenth and a half apart, but Piastri is like reeling off purple after purple after purple. And then both of them come on the radio and say, yeah, left front's given up.
Norris was in
My
first.
brother in Christ, you killed the tire.
Yeah, Norris was too busy going hard on those hard compound tires, which was the real race tire of the weekend. And the medium tire was not good.
Horrible.
The medium was a dud by all accounts. The hard tire was the race tire. Norris had completely caned his, trying to stay with Piastri, trying to get past Max Verstappen late on as well. Just in terms of outright pace, like, Norris had killed his front left tire off. He was the first of the leaders to come in for his second and final stop.
And making mistakes, Dre. I mean, he went wide a couple of times. You could see in the body language of the car, like, he was driving, he was overdriving the car.
Yeah, he was wringing the neck of that thing.
Race.
And he simply did not need to. And it was like, it's like McLaren had only kind of realized with about 15, 16 laps to go, oh shit, he's one-stopping, isn't he? Piastri, can you do a one-stopper? And Piastri's like, no.
I just said 6 fastest laps in a row. How do you think my front tires feel?
And so, of course,
it's a team relearning how to win again.
Yeah, because, like, the analogy I like to use is, albeit one that goes over a lot of people's heads, because it's one that it's a comparison to yacht racing, where there's fleet racing like you see in Sail GP, and then there's match racing like you see in the America's Cup. In fleet racing, you're say in the F1 midfield racing a whole bunch of different guys. If you can run your own strategy, go as fast as possible, and still jump a bunch of people. At the front of the field, it's like the America's Cup. It's a match race. You're heads up against one other team, and you can't just simply go as quickly as you can, because it might not actually be the fastest strategy. And it's something that McLaren seemingly don't get, where they seemingly craft their strategies around what their drivers want to do, which That's not good.
Yeah, and we've seen Red Bull who. Notice how we have basically not said a word about Red Bull up to this point. Ain't that crazy? Well, like we've seen Max and his engineer come to blows because Max wants to do one thing and the Red Bull pit wall's like, just calm down and do what we tell you to do. And it's a completely opposite vibe with McLaren where, again, I think that Ferrari were definitely quick enough. Like, at the end of the day, McLaren were quicker, but they weren't quick enough to make a two-stop work against a one-stopping Ferrari.
Yeah. And
they could have split their cars if they weren't so involved in a fastest lap battle.
But this is the whole thing. This is what a certain section of McLaren fans will tell you is, look, we're proud that we don't implement team orders. We let our drivers race. We do things the right way. We don't do things like Ferrari because we are above that.
You get to hold that honorable L as Red Bull, who were dog shit this weekend relative to where they normally are. You could have doubled the points that you took out of them. And I've heard to the effect of, oh, well, there's enough races to go. They don't need to take that many out of Red Bull.
Bullshit.
You don't know if Red Bull's going to be in this funk until the end of the year. Because if they get their shit together, when the Red Bull is in the window, it can still blow the doors off the field. They just can't get it in the window right now. It is not a given that McLaren are going to dominate. Shit, they just lost to Ferrari, who were awful since Spain. And there were points in this weekend where Mercedes were quick, but similar to Red Bull, the Mercedes keeps swinging around between being the fastest car in F1 and like a distant fourth. And everything in between with seemingly no rhyme or reason to it.
Is it time for team orders at Woking?
I think it already was.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think I look at the scoreboard.
Your guy Billy Butts, everybody's favorite. You know,
it's like after the race.
He's done a fucking promo saying, "Why haven't you done this?"
Because the thing is, they haven't done it because the question on whether to do team orders or not is the symptom of a larger problem at McLaren, where the drivers dictate what the strategy is. And when you have that problem, the guys in the car are never going to know the bigger picture of the race. That is what the pit wall and all the engineers are there for. When they can be simply overruled by the guy in the car, what's the point?
Yeah.
King is cooking. He is cooking with napalm. I love it.
Love him or hate him, he's spitting straight facts.
This is 100% what I've been saying for months. I've been saying it since Canada. McLaren gives its drivers too much onus on strategy. I said it after Canada. I said it after Silverstone. I said it in Hungary. McLaren, they build their entire strategy around their drivers. And like Norris gets far too much a say. And you know what? Norris is not a good enough on-track technician like a Sebastian Vettel or even a Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz, one of the things I respect about him a lot, he's a fantastic race strategist. He gets
he's a thinking man's driver in the most complimentary possible way.
Yeah, those are the sort of dudes where you can take a bit more stock in what they have to say. They get it. Him, Sebastian Vettel were two drivers that were very, very good at that. They were very, very good at outside the box thinking.
They had to be at times.
Yeah, at times they had to deal with Ferrari strategy war, which we all know was not the best on many occasions. Norris and Piastri ain't them. They are not them. They are fantastic rocket ship drivers. They are guys who, at their best, can be as quick as anyone in the world. Hell, I've joked that Oscar Piastri is Mr. 91 pace stat on F1 Manager because his raw speed is incredible. Like, it should not be this quick for a guy in his second season in
tire wear this weekend. You know, he was not very good in Zandvoort pretty much all weekend. This weekend, he swung right back.
Yeah, cooking. This is the point. They've put so much on their drivers now. They've now basically made a team orders scenario at McLaren unbelievably hard because they asked McLaren's drivers about it in the post-race press conference, and I spoke to my colleague at Autosport, Alex Kadanaukas, about this, and shout out to Alex, he's a good bloke. And I spoke to Alex about it, and Alex was like, Dre, you would not believe how many times now I've seen McLaren. I think they're now on 12 straight podium finishes now this season, which is the third or fourth best they've ever had as a manufacturer. So there's been at least one McLaren driver in the post-race presser almost the entire season. And he always says, Dre, you would never be able to guess after a race that these guys have the best car in Formula One, or certainly an argument for the best car in Formula One right now at the very least, because they're miserable in every post-race press conference they're in, because they don't like the line of questioning, or they feel like they've left points on the table. They asked Norris about team orders after the race was over, and he was like, it's up to the team to decide. It's, it's, I'm all for it. Oscar Piastri, no comment.
A genuine argument that basically since May, McLaren has had equal quickest or quickest car and have had pretty much every race be winnable since then.
They've converted 3 out of 9. 3 out of 9 since Miami.
Yeah, and the only thing that's really helping them right now is that Red Bull are completely out to lunch with their car. They know what's wrong, but it's not a quick nor easy fix.
Right.
McLaren has to be, they have to be making hay while the sun shines.
Absolutely.
While they've got this window of opportunity, because you don't know. Mercedes could be one upgrade away from being the quickest car. And then the big points are off the table. Ditto with Ferrari. Ditto if Red Bull fixes their issues. You don't know, but right now, you have the fastest car in F1. You have 2 rocket ship drivers, and you don't know how to use them right now.
Lando is 62 points behind Max in the driver standings. They're only 8 points behind now Red Bull as a manufacturer. The Constructors is gone for Red Bull. They're not getting that back.
Constructors dead and buried.
Yeah, McLaren will almost certainly win that barring a miracle, unless Ferrari hits a miracle upgrade out of nowhere, right? Because I don't see where Ferrari's going to gain 40 points on McLaren between now and
not
the
when
end of
this
the year.
is the first time where Ferrari have shown, like, Ferrari kicked off the season as the second quickest car, capable of winning if Red Bull slipped up. This is their first time back to that level of par since Spain.
Yeah, probably Spain or China, something like that. But yeah, I was going to say, my point is that Oscar Piastri is 44 points behind Norris and 106 behind Verstappen. I'm sorry, and this may sound harsh. Oscar Piastri leading a race for McLaren right now is empty calories. It's time. It was time 2 rounds ago in Hungary, because you've already asked Lando Norris, your star driver, the face of your team, the big brand behind your Papaya rules bullshit. You've already asked him to give up a win this season. Good luck implementing team orders now, but I think they need to. Oscar Piastri is not winning the championship at 106 points back with 8 rounds to go. It's virtually impossible. It's time to sit the man down and say, sorry, Oscar, next year. We'll let you race on equal terms next year and we'll see what happens. But this year, it's time for you to get behind Lando, because if you're McLaren, shouldn't the aim be win both championships? Because by the time the year is over, you're likely to have had the best car in Formula One for 2/3 of the year. You should be winning both championships. If you've had a car that good for 16, 17 rounds and have a 24-race season, why aren't you winning both titles? Someone please tell me. Oh, am I wrong? Am I talking shit? Someone please tell me otherwise.
You're making perfectly sensible points.
It's a situation where, again, they have ended up. I mean, no one will have expected McLaren to jump the queue again and go from distant 4th best for much of the start of the year to now having the dominant car.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't.
It feels like they're the last people to realize how good their car is.
Did we expect them to make the jump that they did in the middle of last season?
They've had 2 in a row now, where it's like, they started off last year debatably the worst car in the field.
Certainly, like
I think part of them don't want to admit that this chance at the championship could be their only chance.
Yeah, because 25 is going to be a whole clusterfuck with favoring 26, with the unknown of the new power units, with the unknown of the new regulations.
Because that's another aspect of it. if you implement team orders, you're telling both your drivers that this could be the only chance this team has at a championship. You could tell Piastri next year, but this move tells him that he might not even have a chance to be in this position next year.
Yeah, like it's the same as this year with the fluctuations in who has had the form car on a given weekend. You just don't know. But when you do know, you need to maximize what's on the table.
Yep. You just go for it.
They haven't done that for large quantities of this year.
I haven't seen a team fail to capitalize on having a quicker car like this since basically 2018 with Ferrari. Where Ferrari were just hurling wins in the trash via terrible strategy or failed upgrades. Or, on occasion, Seb being a bit of a funny on lap one. Although that with the upgrades kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. That's the feeling and the vibe that I get about this. It's no disrespect. To clarify, this is no disrespect to Oscar Piastri, who's having a very, very good second season in Formula One. Breakout year. On
his
a good
progression from last year has been remarkable.
He's
not just in terms of speed, but in terms of getting the race day right, which was so often his weakness in 2023.
He is driving like the elite level prospect that was promised when we were all freaking the hell out, rightfully so, about him not getting a drive straight after winning the F3 and F2 titles back to back. And there's a different conversation about how much stock you can put in those results, but like, Oscar passes the eye test. I don't know what to tell you.
He's an excellent racing driver. He is now a top 6 driver in the world. He is now, on a good day, capable of matching Lando Norris, and that's part of the problem here now, because since Imola, there's only 4-point difference between him and Norris. They've been very, very close. The issue I have with Piastri is he still isn't qualifying as well. He's 14-2 down this year in qualifying.
He's actually flipped it around. The issue last year was that he was a bullet in qualifying, not so good on race day. He's actually flipped the script that way, much like McLaren has with their car.
Yeah, very weird how that's turned out, but I think it's time for McLaren to go all in on Lando. I'm like the longer they leave this, the more of a pickle they're going to put themselves in if they don't. And if they keep messing around like this and they keep having Piastri take points out of Norris or another car, whether it be Max, whether it be a Ferrari, who knows who it could be, given how close the field is at the moment. All they're doing is they're leaving points on the table, and they might end up with Max getting away with it in terms of the Drivers' Championship, because on paper, this is a very winnable driver's title for McLaren.
I still don't believe what you're saying.
I think it's doable. I think if Red Bull are in this deeper hole, which we'll get to right now, I think it's very doable, because this weekend, Verstappen and Perez were not at the races. They only locked out row 4 in qualifying. Max was 7 tenths off the pace. Perez 8 tenths off the pace, and could only manage 6th and 8th in the race. Max's drive something, as mentioned, cut to 62 points, and the constructors' gap is now down to just 8. Red Bull, Max has described the current RB20 as, quote, a monster, and not in the complimentary sense either. Just what is up in Milton Keynes?
I'm gonna put this question out here, just so we can either shoot it down or see if it holds up. Do you think Red Bull doesn't understand why the car is flawed and is trying to figure it out, or are they steering down this bad development path all to help Checo catch up to Max?
Nah, the former.
I think it's the former.
I don't even think it's so much the former. If it sounds like Red Bull do understand what's going on. It's just a question of fixing it is not quick. Fixing it is not easy, because for a lot of this year, it seemed like they had the same flaw as the last 2 Red Bulls, which was, roll stiffness, which the last 2 cars were so unbelievably cracked in every other area that it basically didn't matter. They could soften up the front of the car and dump a little bit of downforce and still have enough over the rest of the field that it didn't really matter. This year, they don't have that luxury. That becomes a limitation. And from what it sounds like, they've basically broken the balance front to back. Sometimes the car understeers, sometimes the car oversteers. and you don't know what it's going to do going into the corner. Not ideal, because there's no real way to fix that via setup. From what it sounds like, they have fixes in the works. They've pulled some eyes off of the 21 to work on the 20. That hurts them for next year, obviously, especially with their limited wind tunnel time. But it sounds like a fix is in the works. These next two races are going to suck for them, though, because Singapore was awful last year, despite how good the 19 was.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't going to be any better.
What's next? Baku.
Baku? I don't know. Baku, I don't know, because like the last couple of years, cars have been good at Baku where we thought they were going to be terrible, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's crazy because like, what happened? Where was it? Why isn't this car like performing the way it was at the start of the season? What happened to the Honda Motor Company advantage?
That's about the only part of the car that's working well right now. And even then, Verstappen did have an ERS deployment issue during the race.
Not good.
Not good, and even then, everybody else now has the same flaw and trick DRS wing that got Red Bull that 20 mile an hour DRS advantage it had at times last year. They've all got that now. I
think also not bringing a bespoke Monza wing and just trimming the Spa wing, that was a mistake.
Yeah, Max commented on that too. Said they tried having a unique Monza wing and it just didn't work out at all in the end. Red Bull just got. I think Red Bull, they know what the issue is, and I think they're just taking more and more gambles and more liberties to try and compensate for that. And as Christian Horner described, it's like playing whack-a-mole with the car's problems. Like you hit the hammer here, you think you've got it, but then the next one pops up in another hole somewhere, and you've got a new problem to fix with your car. It's wild in that sense, but they're chasing their own tails, going back and forth in a circle. And I know a lot of people are praying for this team's downfall. I know a lot of people have cited Adrian Newey leaving as a reason why this has happened.
That wouldn't hit them this hard, this quick.
Absolutely not.
We know what F1 development lead time is like. And, I mean, if you believe, Adrian Newey is heading over to Aston Martin to reunite with Honda and a bunch of his former Red Bull staff, which is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
From what it sounds like, from everything the team has said, they're trying to fix it the right way, which unfortunately means they're fixing it the slow way. And that's if that works, because the car is doing things in real life that it's not doing in the wind tunnel. It's much the Mercedes problem of a couple of years ago where...
Decalibration.
Yeah, well, they put the W13 on track and it didn't work at all. It was not a concept that could exist in real life. And... give the engineers on the other teams their flowers. McLaren brought a brand new car in Miami, and it was bad fast.
Yeah, they nailed it. And they've been at the front of the field pretty much ever since. That might be your sliding doors moment. I know it wasn't to do with the Red Bull directly, but that was also the same weekend Newey was announced he was leaving the team, and that was the last weekend, according to Horner, that Newey was plugged in to what was going on with that team on a day-to-day basis. So that might be your sliding doors moment for the season. Norris's first win, Max damaging his floor, driving over that bollard, and the race that could have easily gone another way if we didn't get that late safety car. That was also the first sign that McLaren was not playing anymore. They now have a car that can compete for the championship. And
the car ain't playing. The team certainly is. And even then, like Red Bull,
they got the hard part done.
Yeah, and the pros of Red Bull aren't doing themselves any favors with 6-second pit stops. And although I don't think it was entirely their fault, starting on the hards and then trying to do a medium one stop. The medium was so bad this weekend that went right out the fucking door.
Yeah.
They better not blow this, man. It's like the lead was 78 points coming into summer break. And I don't care whether or not you feel like Lando Norris is being entirely carried by the car he has underneath them. Blowing a 78
the good news is, RJ,
lead over the stretch is catastrophic.
Well, the good
It
news is, RJ, the last time someone blew a lead that big, you can become a card-carrying Max Verstappen fan, because it was Fernando Alonso in 2012.
Oh boy. Wasn't he 55 up mid-season that year or something crazy?
55 up, and then he caught a multitude of cars to the side in Spa and crashed himself in Japan off Raikkonen.
No one's ever blown a lead this big in F1 history.
I've got some edibles in the next room. I think I'm just like
Good idea. Good idea. What that happens?
Who would have known that Red Bull were trying the Braun Grand Prix speed run?
Yeah. While RJ gets high in 5 hours time. With medically induced pancakes.
Don't take too many, otherwise we will have to have you go outside, grab onto some grass, and hang on to the earth.
Let me hang on to it. It's time for a lightning round because we had a bunch of driver shuffles. Starting with the big one, of course, Logan Saregant out at Williams. The practice crash at Zandvoort was the last straw. He has been replaced by Williams Academy product Franco Colapinto of Argentina. Colapinto was sixth in F2 standings before his debut in F1 at Monza, and he finished a respectable 12th on his debut. Not all that bad. But of course, the same weekend, the worst kept secret in the paddock to that point finally materialized. It's not the Adrian Newey thing. It's Andrea Kimi Antonelli, the top prospect of the Mercedes-AMG Academy. He will make his F1 debut with the factory team next year at 18 years old. It wasn't all the dream weekend he'd hoped for. He did crash hard at his FP1 cameo appearance. And when he was in his day job at F2, he didn't gain a lot of ground in the standings. But, of course, he will be the most high-profile rookie in a top team since Lewis Hamilton himself. Hamilton, who gave his word of endorsement for this move happening in the days leading up to it. Also, Kevin Magnussen received the honor of being the first driver to serve a one-race suspension on penalty points since the penalty point system was introduced some 9 years ago. So, what do we make of the Williams swap?
What's the point?
The point was, on first day of asking, he was within 15 seconds of Albon, which is a damn sight better than Logan Saregant ever managed.
Yeah, it was a marked improvement. It honestly it raises more questions about why they didn't do this sooner, to be honest.
Yeah.
Why did you ever give Logan Saregant the second year if you had this in your back pocket the whole time?
Like, you didn't think it was ready at the time.
Yeah.
I get giving him the second year, but given...
There were more questions, like... There are more parts to this, because Williams also thought that they could get signed sooner than this.
Yeah,
this is also true.
There's that.
There's a lot of moving parts to this, is what I will say. If the whole thing feels frustrating to me, because I know a lot of people that are very high on Franco Colapinto. They've seen him race in places like the European and Asia Le Mans series, in tin tops, and he's had a very solid rookie season in F2 so far.
Second season, I believe.
Is it second?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Even still, he's won a race this year, and a couple of other feature race podiums. He's been strong this year, and he's had a solid second year in F2, and first time out, he makes the one-stopper work at Monza, which, again, is not as easy as Charles Leclerc made it look. The teams were all fearful about graining on this brand-new Monza resurface, and if you lock up a set of tyres at Monza here with that new surface, you were in big trouble. So I knew a lot of teams were going with the literal two hands for safety approach rather than going for the one-stopper. Colapinto pulled it off, and he was only 14 seconds behind Alex Albon. When Albon got in the points, it was a good weekend for Williams. And yes, we know that Williams generally goes well at Monza because their car is...
I think that's more sustainable than the De Vries thing, because you're not, say, benching Nick De Vries against Nicholas Latifi. You're benching Franco Colapinto against the number one driver of the team, at least for the next few races.
Which is what they should have done in the first place.
I get giving him the second year because there was flashes of speed, but the crashes, man. Too many. I mean, Zandvoort, if there was ever going to be a final straw writing off a tub covered in new parts while crashing in a straight line sounds like a pretty fair final straw.
Yeah. The problem is that
for the situation that Williams is in, because
the problem is that James Vowles talks out of both sides of his mouth like most team principals do. And
he's a perfect F1 team principal, Dre.
He really is. Like, people seem to think that he's not, and I'm just like, guys, he's a team principal. And what do I say about team principals in Formula One? You treat them like politicians, and then all of a sudden their behavior makes a lot more sense. And the man was talking out of both sides of his mouth in regards to Logan Saregant for a good year. On the one hand, he was like, "Oh, the Sargent's got targets to hit. You know, we expect him to do this, and this, and we'll evaluate him." It all was like trying to like kick the can down the road until Zandvoort happened. In
fairness,
like
if he gave him targets, he summarily failed to hit them.
Yeah, and look,
because he just kept hitting shit at the side of the road instead.
I just feel bad for the overall situation here now, because Colapinto is going to get these 9 races to put himself in the shop window as best he can, and then what happens? Because we all know Carlos Sainz is coming, and no one is moving that. If you can go get a Carlos Sainz in your 9th ranked team in the championship, you go sign a Carlos Sainz. And if anything, James Vowles has come across in the last 3 weeks or so since that announcement as the man who got to snog the prom queen. Because my God, the man has been down catastrophically bad since then. So much so, I put a video parody of him talking about the signing on Twitter to Mark Henry's sexual chocolate theme, because that's what it felt like.
That's crazy.
Because it's the truth. That's how he sounds like. Like when the man is talking about staying in the dude's hotel room to have warm candlelit conversation about joining Williams, that is a man who can't quite believe he's pulled off what he's just done. That's how it comes across. And unfortunately, I feel a bit bad for Franco Colapinto, because when it comes
all this ends up being is an audition.
His move now becomes like, most likely his move is do these races, come back to F2 for a full season, because you're not the champion. You can come back after this cup of coffee, go win the championship, and see what your market is for 2026. Because it doesn't look like there's any market for 2025. We all know Liam Lawson or Daniel Ricciardo is getting the second seat at Team Faenza, and that just leaves, who wants to drive at Sauber in the last lame duck year before Audi cleans up everything and tears it down to the studs?
Yeah, still on a goose egg, by the way, at Sauber. And even Audi has since come out and said, yeah, we can't sustain this.
Mm-hmm. They've underestimated the size of the task at hand.
They are shocking. Like, they weren't the worst car in F1 to start the year. I can pretty safely say they are now. They stink. Valtteri Bottas is 22nd in a 20-driver championship.
Colapinto immediately got into the championship and overtook him, because 12th is a better finish than anything Bottas has managed this year. Poor man. He does not deserve this.
Garbage.
And that's the thing. If you're Sauber, you've got options. You can just keep Bottas. You can keep Zhou Guanyu if you're that way inclined. You've got Théo Pourchaire in your driver academy, and you've got Zane Maloney there as well still. So you're not going to go for Colapinto when you've got 4 solid options.
Gabriel Bortoleto might jump the queue. I mean, don't get me wrong, he had a fantastic weekend. It is giving Isaac Hadjar something to think about in the F2 standings.
Only 10 and a half point gap now.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be people who'll be like, oh, take that for what you will, not a real indication talent. Bortoleto might be good enough to do the job.
It's not a real indication, but it's the only indication that we've got.
Like Gabriel Bortoleto might be an F3, F2 back-to-back champion and probably won't make the grid. What's the point?
Ask Oscar Piastri.
That'll be the second F3, F2 back-to-back double champ we've had in the last 3 years, and neither will get on the grid straight away, most likely. Shit's ridiculous. But that's a discussion for another day. Good luck to Colapinto. A very solid debut. Didn't write a car off. Great pace. Looked solid. Hope it continues.
Baku and Silverstone are going to be hard. Baku and Singapore are going to be hard.
Yeah, that'll be difficult, but we'll see how we go.
Especially Singapore with the physical load that places on the drivers.
Now, look, we can talk about, is Antonelli underhyped, overhyped, or just appropriately hyped? What do you think a good first season is at Mercedes for, I guess, the best product we've seen since Charles Leclerc?
His teammate gave him a hell of a target because in their first season together, George Russell appointed Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. He straight up outpointed Lewis over a season the moment he walked through the door. And then don't get me wrong, there's mitigating circumstances towards that 2022 season. We all know Lewis was giving up setups to try and figure out why they were bouncing like shit.
And George Russell already had 3 seasons under his belt. Antonelli is debuting straight into this team the way Lewis did in 2007, the way Jacques Villeneuve did in 96.
Let's put it to you this way. The cardinal sin of a young driver test is normally writing the car off the moment you get it. Antonelli did that and no one gave a shit. Like that.
No, instead we got a PR spin of look how fast he was going. He overloaded the tires. I'm like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Yeah, that's not a good thing on these modern Pirellis.
But it does show how much leeway they're willing to give him because they know where the team is.
Oh yeah, that's what's crazy to me. Like they told Antonelli, go have some fun with that car, and have fun. He did. He
went real fast, right up until the point where he was stationary.
Like, let's put it to you this way: Kimi Antonelli's weekend wouldn't look out of place on an episode of MTV's My Super Sweet 16 when they occasionally did the odd 18th birthday, because my man got to enjoy all the Italian food, had a big party for his 18th, got to drive an F1 car, wrecked it 10 minutes later, and then got announced as Mercedes' new driver for next year.
Can I just say,
18th.
Can I just say, the hard cut to George Russell going, that's my car.
It was glorious. And then Toto's face just going like,
the second best hard cut of the week.
Oh.
And more in our MotoGP episode.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. More on that later in the week. But my God, I don't know, man. It's like I've been on the lower end of the Antonelli hype scale since this happened, mostly because, like, I've sat here questioning just how useful F2 is as a tool of evaluating talent at this point. I mean, we all know that his karting and Formula 4 record is pristine,
and his Formula Regional record. I mean, Christ, go back to August 2021, and you will find Will Buxton writing an article calling Kimi Antonelli to F1. I mean, he did also call that Jamie Chadwick would be his teammate at Williams, but I mean, you got it 50% of the way right.
You got it more right than Peter Windsor does half the time.
Like, this dude has been...
How about that illegal braking system that he mentioned? And even Ted Kravitz, who hates Red Bull, has debunked it.
Oh, yeah.
This guy is a karting champion. This guy's a karting champion. He's been an F1 grid kid. Like, his name has been out there. He even dabbles in GT3 racing with his dad's team and wins at that. He's an FIA Motorsport Games gold medalist. Like, yeah. I'm convinced he could have made the jump from Formula Regional straight up to F1 if he wanted to.
Wow.
Which is wild.
We got rules in place for that.
Yeah, we do now, because we were all freaked out about, Max Verstappen cannot make the jump to... We cannot have Max Verstappen. It's just like when NBA instituted the one and done rule.
Yeah, and that's why I'm understandably cautious about this situation, because this is still going into a potential title contender's car next year. It could very well, because Merck's like a million miles off the top of the field right now. This could be a title contending car next year.
Who would have thought redesigning the car 3 times in 3 years, eventually you get it right.
And George Russell, we all know, Russell is no joke. He's a damn good driver. And a guy that is keeping Hamilton honest and has done for 2 out of the 3 years they've been teammates in F1. This is a damn good driver. And look, there's not very many ways this can go well for Antonelli next year. And I hope sincerely, he's given a long rope, and it seems, by all accounts, that Toto loves this kid, and that he will get given the patience and time to succeed. I sincerely hope that is the case. I think it is.
I think he's got the benefit of going in, and much like Lewis did last time with Mercedes, when he went to the works team, it was a year before the big regulation shift. If you hear the rumors, Mercedes are once again cooking up an atom bomb of an engine. We'll see how that goes. The first year is basically a trial run for him.
He will also have like the weight of expectations of like, I alluded to it. Italy has not had a Formula One world champion since Alberto Ascari in a time before races were on television. That was like film reel stuff. That was newsreel material. That wasn't TV. That wasn't anything we're familiar with.
We shall see. Like, I'm not fully convinced, but he's got every chance of being a success.
Also, dude, I'm looking back through this predictions list. I know there's some crazy stuff here. Pierre Gasly at McLaren, Liam Lawson and Nick DeVries at Aston Martin together, Teo Pourchaire at Alp. Arvid Lindblad at AlphaTauri, put a pin in that. Not so much
what I will say, I'm on board the hype train. But I also think that, again, it really depends on what Mercedes think of what 2025 is. Because if I'm Mercedes, second verse same as the first. I don't give a shit about 2025. Dump everything into 26 and the new power unit.
Yeah, see what you got. Now, further on down the field, we also had to mention it earlier. Kevin Magnussen made a little bit of history this weekend. He had a brilliant drive for it. I've got a point in 10th place. Had a brilliant hard tyre stint to get a point. Just 0.2 of a second in it between him and Fernando Alonso over the line. And there's a reason why it was only 0.2 of a second, because there was a 10-second time penalty for Kevin Magnussen to make up for causing a collision with Alpine's Pierre Gasly. And for those who've been keeping score at home over this year, Kevin Magnussen's been on 10 penalty points since Miami earlier on this year. One more cause in the collision incident would have counted for 12 for the year, and guess what happened? He got 2 points for that Gasly collision. It takes him to 12. Magnussen has been, as Jason would say in the chat, ejecto-cetoed, for a one-race ban. He will not drive in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix next week. Instead, in comes ... probably Ollie Behrman. It's gonna be Ollie Behrman.
Almost certainly going to be Ollie Behrman. Good health, willing.
Yeah, Pietro Fittipaldi remains in the prison that is RLL on ovals.
Poor guy.
I guess what I want to know is what's Kevin Magnussen doing in 2 weeks' time? Because I believe NASCAR is racing at Watkins Glen, and I'm sure there is a Rick Ware Racing Ford that could be sold to the highest bidder. Maybe
Please no.
That's got Trackhouse written all over it, hasn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, for as long as Stuart Haas Racing is currently structured, he's still together, why would they put him in a Chevrolet?
Goodness
the way I'm looking at it, he comes over to NASCAR and thinks, we only penalize you for hitting someone if it's, like, really, really bad.
Perfect. when do I start?
No, we're burying the real lead on the question. It's just like, if it's Behrman taking over at Azerbaijan, somebody pointed out in our Discord offline, why wouldn't Haas just keep Behrman for the rest of 2024? Kevin Magnussen is very much at peace with this chapter of my racing journey is over.
Yeah, because you give Behrman a preview of next year, and you give Behrman an opportunity to push even more people further back in the standings. It's not like Haas are completely devoid of points this year.
It's not like Behrman is. It's not like Behrman's an F2 title contender. Antonelli has at least a slim chance of coming back from the deficit that he has, which is like 66 points over 3 race weekends. It ain't gonna be easy, but at least it's doable. Behrman, no. That year started bad, then he got pulled out of the car in Saudi, and then it kept being bad. Flashes Bruins aside, but he banked up enough in the first season to where, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I'm fully in that camp. there is no reason to keep running Kevin Magnussen for the rest of the year. Not that I don't have anything against Kevin. On a good day, he has like he was at Monza. He's more than capable of scoring points and doing a solid job. But for me, why not? Ollie Behrman's got no reason to stick around in F2. There's nothing left for him to learn in that series. He's got his seat. We all saw last year how devastatingly quick he could be in an F2 car. I've seen enough of him in an F2 car. Haas can get a leg up on next year's development with one of their 2 designated drivers in the seat right now for 8 races. Tell Kevin, go drive some sports cars. Have some fun for the rest of the year, and Haas can crack on thinking about the future. Like, I don't see... as long as Ferrari clears him, and I don't see why Ferrari would stand in his way of that, I don't see what the problem is. Just run him for the rest of the year. Like, why not?
Else is happening on September 15th, other than... I mean, there's the 6 hours of Fuji. That's also an option if Kevin Magnussen wants to be plugged in.
He can come drive that Peugeot he was supposed to drive. No. No. Not a good car.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, out of that race, Alpine and BMW had so much better days than anything I've seen out of the new Peugeot so far.
Yeah, the Peugeots had one good race and then they redesigned the car. Oh, by the way, that one good race ended with it running out of fuel.
As you do. But yeah, I mean, King, how do you feel about it? Is it time for the Behrman?
I don't think it'll make that much of a difference in terms of development to happen the rest of the year. For him to get acclimated to F1, yeah, it'll be a massive jump start. But yeah, if they can, if it really is worth it, yeah, buy Magnussen out of his contract.
Also, what could be the one thing that might stop them from doing that, they are in a genuine fight with RB for 7th in the standings, maybe 6th. There is some skin in the game for Haas. They do have something to play for in the middle of this. They're not a million miles behind RB at the moment. You know, Hulkenberg's had a very, very good season overall this year. They've got shit to play for. That might be the one reason that holds them back in that, unless they think Behrman is better than K-Mag, which, look, I'm not the biggest K-Mag guy, but I think that's a little strong for my taste.
I wouldn't make that assumption going into it, although I will say Kevin Magnussen has probably dropped a little bit this year because
he has.
Not that you would know from this weekend because Nico Hulkenberg chose terrorism on lap 1. But Hulkenberg's been beating him pretty badly pretty much all year.
Yeah. How's you doing? That'll just about do it for our episode on the Italian Grand Prix. F1 will be back in just about a week and a half's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix on the streets of Baku. A couple more races in this doubleheader block, and then F1 has this weird 3-week autumn break before we go to Austin in October. Weird, but there we go. One more episode in this little triple header block, which we'll be recording later on in the week. MotoGP and its Grand Prix of Aragon, its first race back there in 3 years, and I've had to wait nearly 3 years to say this. Marc Marquez is back. You know where to find us. God, I can't wait to talk about that. That'll be next time out on Motorsport 101. Until then, I've been Dre Harrison. They've been RJ O'Connell, Cam Buckley, and Ryan Eric King. Until next time, thank you very much for listening. Catch you guys soon.
Speaking of Arrivederci, can we all collectively agree as a community to stop bringing up the fucking Perez pizza every year when we come back here?
Agreed.
People want easy content.
Ugh.
Yeah, and not easy on my eyes.
Not easy on my taste buds.
Ugh.